This is the sound of rubber cement sealing up all the cracks. It's that type of rubber cement that's not actually like rubber cement, but it's like that foam type of cement that when you push it into the cracks, it like seals all the cracks real nicely because it has like a foam effect where you squeeze it out and then it kind of becomes foam, but it like becomes foam that solidifies. It's used in construction quite often. That is something that is symbolic for what happens with attention in life. Typically, that is how things tend to go on occasion. If it is possible that it is relevant that one person does not clear out all the elements of distraction that are in front of someone's attention. After all, because even if you are able to push the top line item of attention, that is a distraction out of the way. That just like that foam item that is relevant in terms of filling cracks, that it is possible that in every single orifice and facet of your attention span, that in essence every single outlier that happens to be outside in the outside world is trying to creep into your attention in a similar fashion, that foam material concept situation is similar to. It is something like that. Whereas if you are able to discard certain aspects of attention because it is possible that you develop a focus, a line of focus, a line of sight that is like a focus, a laser line of sight that is like a focus, as opposed to 45,000 different items coming into your attention and one being flooding in, coming right after another one, especially if you're able to sweep away a couple of the top surface items, that there's 42,987 more items, line items right behind that in terms of coming after your attention, trying to distract you and take you down different rabbit holes of attention to be able to take you into different directions in this thing known as reality. Whereas once a person has developed a little bit of a purpose, a pipeline of focus, an attention span for things and items that they want to do in the world and in a way that they want to get there, and a process for markets that they want to try to attend to and problems that they want to solve in the world, that it develops almost like a laser beam effect that is able to cut through all of this material that is trying to seep into the pores of all aspects of skin in life by being able to push through that material, foam material, by pushing it all away and cleansing it all away, because that is an element of focus that is like a laser that pushes all of the distraction items of attention, the 48,725 items of attention that are distractions that are coming in from all aspects and all orifices from the outside world into your attention span at all given times. That laser beam is the ability to be able to sweep it all away at all given times, all given seconds of the day, because all those pipelines of attention are trying to be filled by the outside world. And in essence, it's philanthropy energy, and it's philanthropy in essence in solving problems. It's able to combine with business, to be able to try to find different loopholes and little processes, like in the Mario Kart video games, or like in the Mario video games where you have to pass each level in essence by going through a different path and going through a specific path and jumping over the objects to be able to figure out the linear item to be able to get to the end of the line of that specific video game which you're focused on. Yeah. So in essence, it's philanthropy energy. It's philanthropy that is able to guide one, to be able to find a direct path to the process of the end game that they want to get to in the world by combining that with markets, existing markets of demand in the business world, to be able to figure out a game plan to develop this laser focus, to be able to stay laser focused on a day-to-day basis so that it keeps all the attention enemies away, more or less, that are always seeping in, trying to pull a person in one direction or another. Literally every second, it's like little cells that are distractions in essence, that are always trying to seep into the pores, but that laser helps to cut through all of these cells, more or less. And at the same time, on the flip side of that sort of negative way to look at things, like there's also a lot of ways to be able to flip differing items that come across your attention, almost all the wavelengths of your attention at the same time. If you look at attention as wavelengths, that's constantly shifting. If you think of every single thought that you've had in the day, since not every single thought always 100% aligns with your business 100,000% of the time, although if you have sort of a marketing agency mindset, if you develop somewhat of a marketing agency mindset, it allows for the ability to be able to transition a concept for any given thought that happens in your brain or in a person's brain throughout a given day and transition that into a business, leveraging philanthropy energy at the back end of that, because it's the essence of knowing that you're trying to solve a problem in essence and being able to make a business conceptually out of every single thought that you conceivably have throughout a day. Every single thought, every single wavelength of attention that is completely separate from one another and in essence can be made into a business. It's a peculiar way to be able to conceptualize the way that thinking can be transitioned into businesses, in essence, by leveraging somewhat of a marketing agency type of a mindset where, in essence, you can take every single thought and be able to add different values and different processes and different asset energy to that different thought to be able to make it into a business, whether it's your cat, whether it's your sister, whether it is any relevant item that has to do with energy in this world. It can be transitioned into a business and marketed by being able to help it fulfill a goal that relates to philanthropy energy and transitioning that concept into being able to solve a problem in the world and solve a market demand in the world by attaching it to some aspect and some element of a story that corresponds to the ability to be able to add value to problems that exist in the world by developing the story. That's what marketing agencies do, is develop stories. They develop narratives to be able to show that in terms of an advertisement and to be able to show that to an audience, to be able to try to absolve problems. Whoa, problems, trying to absolve problems. So in essence, as opposed to the first way of looking at every single thought from the outside world as a distraction, to be able to train a mindset to be able to move in the direction of finding an entrepreneurial path for the short and the long term, to be able to eventually transition the noise. Ultimately, it can start out as noise and it could seep into the cracks and the pores of your mindset as distractions. But by being able to sift it and change the dial from negative to a positive, it then makes it so it is possible to be able to transition all the wavelengths of thought of the different distractions that are coming in to your orifices and into your pores, trying to suffocate you more or less some of the time in terms of your attention, by the nature of that similar device that pushes material into the cracks, into different cracks in construction, and makes it come and expand and flail out like foam does to be able to fill the cracks real well and then solidifies. That is how, in essence, differing distractions can be, but to be able to transition that into an asset mindset, it's possible to be able to transition every single wavelength of different into attention by leveraging a marketing agency mindset and transitioning that into philanthropy energy, because you have to develop a philanthropic story, which has to do with solving problems based on any single wavelength, whether it's your cat, whether it's your sister, whether it's the broom in your closet, whatever your wavelength of thought transitions to. That has to do with the global economy, that has to do with a global ecosystem, that has to do with a function that it serves with the rest of the world, and whatever function that piece of anything that your thought relates to and corresponds to, it can correspond to another piece of another something that corresponds to a different market in another fashion, in another way in the world, in essence. So it's also peculiar and interesting and weird almost at the same time to be able to leverage the concept that every single thought that you have every single day, all the time, is a business. Every single thought, every single wavelength that you transition to, all of your attention all the time, while you're not able to completely 100% align with your purpose all the time, 100% of the time, your purpose business, the business purpose that is that an ideal alignment with your purpose and your business that you would be able to try to generate philanthropy energy with in the world and be able to generate philanthropy with, and by trying to solve specific problems that you want to specifically solve in the world, it's moving in the direction of doing that by training a brain to begin with a marketing agency mindset to begin with, by leveraging the ability to be able to attach tools to every single thought that you have throughout the day, of every single piece of anything that you focus on change wavelengths onto on a consistent day-to-day basis, by tracking your thoughts and writing them down on paper, and being able to acknowledge how each of those thoughts correspond to different businesses already in the world necessarily, and being able to add value to those essences of thoughts and those conceptual items that are being thoughts as wavelengths that you're focused on in different ways, that they all correspond to different businesses in different ways. And businesses are a higher frequency of mindset to be able to begin with. So being able to focus on higher frequencies of mindsets, being able to try to translate into different stories, different narratives, different aspects of different thoughts into different stories and different wavelengths and different thoughts and different business narrative thoughts, that is a direct correlation to business thoughts. And then beyond that, that then therefore also corresponds to the narrative, which relates to solving the problems that those specific products or businesses or services could then solve. With every single thought that you possibly could have can be translated into a business. They are all businesses. All of your thoughts are businesses in theory, conceptually, because they all connect to other businesses in the world in the meantime, no matter what. After all, because that's just typically, for the most part, a general rule of thumb in this podcast at least, but typically in general also. Anyway, what that also corresponds to is being able to then identify the way that you can also develop your best focus, your best focus business by being able to leverage all these businesses that you're able to align with and conceptualize how you can make them all into businesses just by leveraging stories of how all these thoughts in your brain could turn into businesses, and then you elevate your mindset to be able to get higher up by having all these businesses and all these business thoughts in your brain, and then be able to eventually discard many of the business thoughts to be able to align with different businesses that align like different frequencies that are able to align with each other, and then they can overlap and coalesce with each other to be able to develop the laser, in essence, that laser focus energy by having all of these business thoughts that correspond with each other that basically are of the same flock. It's like geese that are of the same flock and of the same species. They all can fly with each other. In essence, they don't fly with different species necessarily, but at the same time, when you've got these different species, but they're all different ducks or whatever, geese, whatever it is, that they all can fly together, but they're all different ducks. They're all different people, in essence. Like, they're all different snowflakes of different identities, more or less. But at the same time, they all can fly together because they coalesce together. They all can make a synergy impact, which is similar to how you can develop this laser focus of philanthropy energy, laser focus of an entrepreneurship focus and mindset in the long term, the short and the long term, but it's basically for the long term. It's designed for the long term to have a lifelong pursuit, a lifelong goal, a lifelong market, to be able to try to influence and impact in a positive fashion, to be able to influence and impact in a positive fashion markets that correspond to and speak to problems around the whole entire world that over the span of a lifetime can be worked on bit by bit and piece by piece by collective focus and laser beam focus energy and asset laser beam focus energy that can push everything else out of the way on a day-to-day basis, because every single day, every single morning, all of these new thoughts try to flood in there and they try to cause distractions every single day. Every single day it happens, more or less. And so you have to have that laser to be able to turn it on and push that pipeline of focus through everything to be able to continue on a lifelong pursuit that also corresponds and correlates to existing businesses that are around the world that also, in essence, are able to coalesce with each other to be able to develop this more strong and more strengthened pipeline of focus, also kind of somewhat known as like a hedge fund or like a venture capital fund, for example, that has a strength of a laser beam type of focus that has a specific niche, a specific process where they're looking for specific businesses after all. And that's the type of mindset that you want to develop, similar to a marketing agency. But in essence, like a venture capital fund is something that is able to develop and make a connection and a partnership with other assets, other existing assets in the world, and to be able to add value to those assets. And that's the type of mindset that you want to be able to develop in a business asset sense, to then be able to add the most value to the most problems in the world, to be able to add the most philanthropy energy, to add the most philanthropy to the world by continuously focusing on, continuously with laser beam focus, how to continue leveraging businesses, to be able to use businesses as tools to develop laser beams, to develop shots and shooting philanthropy energy into the world. By having that laser focus and having that laser practice on a consistent day-to-day basis, so that laser shoots from one day to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to be able to continue to generate and facilitate more philanthropy energy going forward by solving more problems with more business energy and more partnerships and more focused, synthetic philanthropy energy that contributes to the global philanthropy energy grid around the whole entire world, connecting all human beings to the global philanthropy energy grid by enhancing all of our collective collaboration energy, in this fashion. Yeah. And so we're also hiring, at the same time, Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios is hiring broker agents around the world by having this mindset, by developing this mindset. We're talking about connecting with broker agents around the world to be able to co-broke with other real estate agencies around the world, to be able to try to connect with asset packages around the world that in essence leverage real estate attached to businesses that are for sale in essence, but at the same time we're trying to focus down on a niche in a similar fashion as we were talking about in this podcast. We're trying to focus down on a niche at the current time, but at the same time we can get a lot of businesses sold through real estate agencies in essence by co-broking in essence. So we're trying to leverage brokers that want to sell businesses, and connect with brokers that want to sell businesses with real estate attached. Business brokers is who we are hiring, that are able to connect real estate that is also attached to businesses that are also for sale around the world. Right now, we have specific locations that our cities are illuminated in right now. And so we're hiring in different cities around the world at the current time. We have current brokerage partnerships in line at the current time in terms of the real estate market, but we're trying to get people to focus out, sniff out, and talk to specific businesses to be able to get a little bit of content made from these specific businesses so we can push it down the line and move it down the line. But we're trying to focus on a medical niche so we can try to somehow connect with the animal shelter animals to be able to move animal shelter animals into the medical field and then have that be a similar fashion to how we unfold somewhat the medical niche. But we're trying to work on that niche aspect to be able to add value to the animal energy into the medical energy, the spiritual health energy, leveraging then the spiritual finance energy through this in proxy end result. So we're hiring business brokers. We're hiring business brokers, commission-based. We're hiring business brokers. If you get a chance to hear this, we will be putting out some content to be able to try to refer to more people to our company, Dicky Tech and Change for Game Studios, Dicky Tech Change for Games, to be able to hire business brokers around the world in certain specific areas, though focusing on for the nature of connecting to certain real estate markets that we're also trying to focus on. So we'll try to put out something a little bit soon in terms of advertising for connecting with brokers in this fashion. Thanks again for now. Bye, Dicky Tech. Bye, peace. Bye, Dicky Tech Change for Games, Dicky Tech Change for Games Studios. Bye, peace. Bye.